my song. Let's sing it. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Come on, it's gonna be fucking awesome. You know the words. It's gonna be fucking awesome. That's insane. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Yeah!
Howdy, 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 everyone. Oh, it is I, Jesse Blaze Snyder. How you doing? Welcome to Coolest Alive, where we celebrate the greatness of pop culture 6 days a week now. How are you enjoying that? We got modern picks and classics that'll make your week just a little bit brighter. I did another 5 this week, an album, an animated film, a live-action film, a comic book graphic novel, and this week we talked about Pikmin 3 Nintendo game. Hopefully that is indeed making your guys' week a little bit brighter. Broadcasting from the edge of Blacklight District Studios. It is Saturday, and today we're celebrating Deadpool, motherfuckers. But first, let me remind you to join us Monday through Friday with 5 short recommendation podcasts every week. Mondays is the best in music. Tuesdays is top shelf animated films and cartoons. Wednesdays are the greatest graphic novels and comic books. Thursdays is all-time best live-action films. And Friday is the wild card, featuring a rotation of the best in books, documentaries, video games, plays, stand-up, and more. If I enjoyed it, and I think you may too, I'm bringing it on Friday with a shorty. Anyway, that's 5 brief, heartfelt media recommendations per week, 15 minutes or less generally, although sometimes the album can be like 20 minutes. But Monday through Friday. So I hope you check that out. I hope you're absorbing all this stuff, because it's literally just me going, I love this, check this out. I love this, check this out. I love this, check this out. Just like today is going to be, I love Deadpool. Here's some of the things that you could check out as an old school, original Deadpool fan. And then, plus our hour-long Saturday show, today's show, where today we're celebrating Deadpool. So you're getting some extra comics and extra movies and whatever else being talked about this week. Anyway, hold up. Before we light this fire up on the Deadpool celebration, a quick pulse from the heart of it all. My company, Blacklight District Studio, which crafts boutique music and comic books. If any of that sounds wonderful to you, you should go to our website, blacklightdistrict.studio. We've always got something cooking up on Kickstarter, and right now is no different. You can pledge now, even late, to our most recent campaign, Solfeggio Sound Healing Frequency Music by Jesse Blaze Snyder. If you type in my name on Kickstarter, you'll find it. Or you can just go to our website, blacklightdistrict.studio, and that will link you through to the campaign. The next campaign, and if you're on Kickstarter and you follow our profile, Blacklight District Studios, is for our comic book anthology magazine. I'm really fucking excited about that. There's such great work in it from myself, from my friend Steve Kurth, from my buddy Digger Mesh and Aaron Sparrow, some of my favorite people on the planet. So I'm excited about that one. That's going to be the next thing we're working about. But I got to fulfill my campaign now for the Solfeggio Healing Frequencies, which means at a certain point in time, the late orders will go off. But if you get in there soon, you can get in there. And if you're not tuning in weekly to my Sunday Esoteric Wisdom podcast, Everything They Don't Want You to Know, where we unpack the hidden truth of this reality, you should fix that. Our show is very important for adult brain health. All right. Time to set your minds on fire with tales of Deadpool. Deadpool. Oh, I love Deadpool. I am an old school, original Deadpool fan. I am one of the people who made sure that Deadpool carried on. And it's because of, so often the people who get credited with Deadpool, the main one is Rob Liefeld, which, yes, he did create the look of Deadpool. But mind you, the look of Deadpool is a bit of a ripoff of a lot of prominent looks. It's a little bit of Spider-Man. It's a little bit of Snake Eyes. It's a little bit of Deathstroke the Terminator. Literally his name, Slade Wilson. Deadpool, the title, the name Deadpool is a fucking rip out of the fourth. Is it the fourth? The last Dirty Harry movie, Dirty Harry in the Deadpool. The person who deserves credit for the Deadpool that we all know and love is Joe Kelly, writer Joe Kelly. He wrote the original Deadpool series, the ongoing series that was on the verge of cancellation over and over and over again, but essentially got me into mainstream comics. At the time that I was working at 7-Eleven, the only comic book I read was Savage Dragon. I read that book cover to cover all the time, and mostly because I liked humor, and there was humor in Savage Dragon, and I heard that Deadpool was very funny, and that the comic book Deadpool was worth checking out. And we had it on the stands on the news rack at my 7-Eleven. I was 16, I guess. Yeah, I think 16. Summer, between whatever grades I was in or whatever, and I started reading Deadpool on my breaks. And I really liked Deadpool. Not only did I really like Deadpool, but Deadpool had ads for things like Marvel Knights and a relaunch or rebranding of X-Men, which was featuring the writing of Joe Kelly, of the guy who was writing Deadpool that I was enjoying so much. So I ended up getting into other comics at Marvel, and then eventually, DC and everything, like the crazy comic book consumer. I've been since my teen years, since around this time, was largely kicked off by Savage Dragon and then Deadpool. And the character, when he first showed up, he wasn't, well, here, I copied this little thing here so you can get, not just from me, I was going through Comic Vine, which is a great little website that has different creators and comics they've worked on, and a good resource when you're, trying to brush up on information. And it said, Deadpool's debut marked a very different version of the character. This is the Fabian Naiches and Rob Liefeld version. He was a serious, grim, and professional assassin with none of his personality trademarks intact. It would be in his solo book, the Joe Kelly solo book, that his trademark character traits would finally emerge. These would include the dark randomness to his actions, Joe Kelly, his humorous bend, Joe Kelly, schizophrenic tendencies, Joe Kelly, his suicidal personal outlook, Joe Kelly, and his fourth wall breaking quips that would make him famous, along with his love for Mexican food, all Joe Kelly. It said, recently Deadpool has been trying to be a hero. That's not true. The magic formula that Joe Kelly created with Deadpool was turning him into a real-life Muppet. The Muppets, as I like to break them down, it's very, very fun to break down all of the different Muppet characters. They all are very passionate about something. They have something that they want desperately, but for whatever reason, they're not particularly good at it. And Joe Kelly's Deadpool is a character who wants to be better than he is, but for some reason, he can't do it. He always fucks it up, just like Fozzie Bear or just like the Electric Mayhem with Animal in the band. No matter how hard he tries, he always blows it. And from the very beginning, the main storyline with Joe Kelly's thing is about him being told that he's this special guy. He's the mythos, and he's going to do something important. And and them convincing him that he's this important guy, makes him want to be an important guy that much more. But he's somebody that's been screwed over a lot of times. And again, these are things that Joe Kelly brought into the book. So I'm going to continue on, but I'm going to get to plenty of the other accolades of how wonderful Joe Kelly's reformation of Deadpool was in the early days of the book. Deadpool has been known for carrying a number of weapons. Sometimes it's as if they appear from nowhere. This is often referred to as a magic satchel. That's something like more recent. Blind Al is also a significant catalyst in Deadpool's personal development. Blind Al is a Joe Kelly creation. As there's a clear love-hate relationship which can vary from Blind Al being a mother-like figure to an abused hostage, sometimes within the same storyline. And, that's one of the things that they did not exactly adapt from the comic books. Blind Al was his hostage. He had kidnapped her, and he had her at his house because he was lonely. And they would mess with each other. It was wonderful. I wish they had stolen from Joe Kelly's great ideas just that much more. So, to kick off our celebration of Deadpool, and we're going to talk about the movies and some other things as we go on, just some of the best things that you can check out. But what we have to start with is the shit that made Deadpool matter. And this is Joe Kelly's Deadpool, Volume 2, 1997. It's weird that it's Volume 2 because there was, I think, 2 miniseries by Fabian Niciez. I think one of them is like given its own subtitle, like that's Deadpool, the Circle Jerk or something like that. And then, but there is another Deadpool miniseries. So Deadpool Volume 1 is these 4 issues. There was some humor in the Fabian Niciez thing, but nothing really clicks. It's not what it would become. With Volume 2, including a -1 issue that Joe Kelly did with Wizard at the time, which was awesome. Deadpool fought like all these dead characters, all these like lame and dead characters, I'm pretty sure. It was very humorous. I'd heard of a lot of these characters before. An early enjoyable bit for me. I think it's even possible that I had seen that Deadpool -1 issue or whatever else because I was reading Wizard. Wizard was also something I did. I read Savage Dragon, I read Wizard. And I think that was how I knew that Deadpool was supposed to be a pretty good book. So Joe Kelly wrote issues 1 through 33 of this series, including the Deadpool Death Annual, which is one of my favorite comics of all time, and that was 1998, and the Daredevil Deadpool Annual in 97, which was like a classic scavenger hunt comic book for me. I did not get a hold of that issue or read that issue for years. Took a really, really long time. Also at this time, he released a lot of one-shots, especially towards the end of like the big story arc with the Mythos thing for Baby's first Deadpool book, a Deadpool team-up issue with Whittle Wade, I think it was, and a Deadpool dictionary. This was all great stuff. At the time, Deadpool would occasionally show up places, but, this was what made Deadpool the character that people wanted to show up places. In general, people liked how Deadpool looked, but his character was shit. Now, should I just kind of go through? Okay. So in the -1 issue, which was a promotion, the Wizard World issue was a 0 issue. So there was -1, 0, and then 1 through 33. In the -1 issue, Wade's ugly pre-Weapon X past and abusive upbringing are framed as the seed for the messy persona we get later. Sets the tone for Kelly's tragic clown Wade. Yeah, it's kind of dour and not really like a upbeat kind of book. I remember not really enjoying it, but in hindsight, I understand why it was written the way it was. The Deadpool Death Annual in 98 gives Wade his origin that you largely see in sorry, my friend Dave Marfield's calling me. Hey, shout out to Dave Marfield. He's on the phone. I love you. I'm in the middle of recording a show. I'll call you back, okay? Hey, show. Okay. Bye-bye. Dave says, hey. So Deadpool and some of these pieces of information were theoretically tied to Deadpool in the first place, that he had this link to Wolverine, that Deadpool was an attempt to recreate Logan's regenerative powers. But in the Deadpool Death Annual, what we get is a really harrowing origin story that gives his name meaning. Deadpool, just taken from one of the fucking Dirty Harry movies. The Deadpool is a betting pool that the victims of Department H have amongst each other. They are all part of the same experiment trying to bring Wolverine's healing factors out with various, medicines and things or whatever that they're using to try to get these people to kick into place. And they're trying to get these powers to activate by putting the participants, the volunteers, the unwilling volunteers, through terrible torture to try to activate the mutant gene in them that they're trying to, get these powers from. Suffice to say, Deadpool and his friends are suffering greatly. And the only thing to sort of take them out of the suffering is humor. And they have this Deadpool, this bet, who is going to die first. And Deadpool, not being Deadpool yet, Wade Wilson decides, I'm going to win the Deadpool. I'm going to inflame Ajax, better known in the films as Francis, and that's part of how he gets under Ajax's skin. He finds out what his real name is. And that bit is great, too, within the comics. Like there's a lot of bits in the comics that are really powerful. They get a lot of the stuff in there, but not necessarily all of it. And one of the main things that they omit is the part of this annual that is death. Because Deadpool's suffering so bad, he begins to hallucinate or not and have a fleeting romance with death, who he just can't seem to get to. He's taken to the edge of death, but he's made to stay alive. He's taken to the edge of death, but he's made to stay alive. Finally, in his attempts to win the Deadpool, he gets Francis to kill him. And while he's dying and he's about to go and embrace death, finally this beautiful woman vision of death, this relationship that he desperately wants, he sees or hears or understands that, I forget if it was Francis was doing something terrible to one of his friends, or Francis goads him on, and he just kind of turns around from the precipice of death and says, I can't do it. I got to go get this motherfucker. And death, scorned, curses him to never see her again. So his healing factor is actually a curse from death. What a beautiful origin. What a cool story. So much better than just this Wolverine ripoff thing. I wish that some of that had made it into the film. And, he burns the whole thing down, and, most of his friends die, and, he goes after these people and rah, rah, rah. But that is the origin of Deadpool. And, oh, what a cool origin it really is. So I'm just going to kind of go through these issues. I just did like a breakdown kind of thing. I had the AI break down a ton of the story arcs for me. And then I went in and just kind of looked it over, making sure that things were right, and like made a bunch of adjustments. But just really short introductions as springboards to just talk about these things. So issue number 1 through 2, you get introduced to Hell House, Weasel, Blind Owl, and T-Ray enter. Weasel is a character, I believe, invented by Fabian Naiches in the miniseries as like his like person who's like somebody that like he works with, who's like a tech person and hacker and and set up jobs for him and things like that. Blind Owl, we told you, Blind Owl's kind of a play on Aunt May. He wanted to give Deadpool an Aunt May, but this dark character has a lady that he kidnapped, and she's blind, and they kind of fuck with each other. And then T-Ray is this guy who is another mercenary at Hell House that has some sort of like magical type powers or something, but he's this massive dude with a band-aid on his nose, and he hates Wade. And we won't find out why he hates Wade until the very end of the series, and I won't get into that yet. In Hell House, there's also some really cool characters. One of them that I always remembered because I thought he was so cool is a guy named Fenway, who had scarring up the side of his head like a baseball would, like a baseball, like the stitching on a baseball. I always thought that character was really cool. Wanted to have him show up again. I've actually had him show up in pitches that I've written for Marvel. And at the end of this, if I haven't gone like too far over, I might like open up some of my Marvel pitches and just kind of show you some of the stuff that I was pitching at the time for this. Because we're also going to talk about one of the stories that I wrote for Marvel was a Deadpool story. And that came from my love of all this. Okay, so Wade signs on at Patch's Hell House. Patch is the guy who is like the bartender, owner, operator, setter up of all, mercenary missions at Hell House. He takes the gigs that establish, wait a second. Wade signs on at Patch's Hell House. Oh, and begins, within the context of this series, taking the gigs that will establish his voice and his fourth wall motor mouthing. And his rivalry with T-Ray begins. And we meet Weasel, his tech pal. Once again, like I said, Weasel has been around. The 2 4-issue miniseries by Fabian Naiches are not terrible. They're not great. The artwork in them is kind of awesome, though. I think it's Ian Churchill who does at least one of them. And I really like his artwork. But story-wise, they're worth forgetting. And Blind Al, the captive roommate who becomes his moral thorn. Okay, so we already kind of covered that shit. Issue 3 through 5, Dr. Killebrew and the Weapon X fallout. Kelly connects Wade back to the butchers who made him. Dr. Killebrew and his enforcer, Francis/Ajax, who we were talking about, start looming as the true first nemesis pieces on the board. So you're getting introduced to Killebrew and Ajax, and you're getting just like a glimmer of like who these people are. This is before you get the full story in the annuals that I talk about. Because the first annual you get is actually the Daredevil Deadpool annual. Then you get Daredevil Death. So it's like, I think, I don't know, a good 15 to 20 issues in when that Death annual comes out. But, oh, man, one of my favorite comics of all time. Really worth seeking out. Dr. Killebrew, it's been a while since I've read this stuff. But I kind of remember there being this thing with Killebrew where his memory of it was like kind of foggy, and like Killebrew like shows up at a certain point in time and trying to like act like he's his friend, and he's like some weird like memory kind of stuff. I remember Killebrew like just really having a lot of mixed feelings about that guy. And I came into this ongoing series late. I will tell you when I joined, and I went backwards to buy all these issues and read these. These issues were not as favorite of mine as the stuff that shows up in like around when I started reading, but there's some great ones. Okay, issue 6 and 7, you got Siren and Redemption Itch. Siren is like a little bit that was introduced during some of his X-Force appearances, possibly, or in the Fabian Naiches miniseries. Deadpool kept running with that in terms of him really liking redheads, which is like a continuous sort of like he's a typical comic book fanboy. Very funny that I now have like a redhead that I want to marry. I don't know. It's funny to me. It's like I've become full Deadpool. So Wade's crush on Siren, X-Force humanizes him. The book's Can a Monster Get Better thesis takes root. So yeah, from this right here from the beginning of this book, the whole thing is, can a monster get better? And I mean, and that's really the thing. He wants to better himself, but he can't seem to do it. So then after issue 6, 7, again, I searched for this fucking annual for ages. Daredevil Deadpool annual number 97. You got Typhoid Mary, Matt Murdock, and Wade collide. I found out later, Joe Kelly was actually writing Daredevil and Deadpool both at the same time. I've since only read a few of Joe Kelly's Daredevil books, but I enjoyed them. So Typhoid Mary, Matt Murdock, and Wade collide. Kelly uses the team-up annual to yank Wade towards hero temptation while letting his chaos break the China. It also primes Wade trying and failing to fix Typhoid. Yeah, that which will happen again. She'll show up again. My favorite part of Wade Wilson, just as a character of prominence in the Marvel Universe in any way, is that he made a sort of staple for a type of character that shows up all over the place in lots of different books, which was assassins. And now all of the assassins could kind of show up crossing Wade's path in one way or another. What are these assassins doing when they're not squaring off against Daredevil or the Punisher or whatever else? They're at Hell House too. They're on the same job as Wade. Like it's really just that interaction of killers interacting with killers is my favorite part of Deadpool and what really he brought into the room. And if they were to handle this correctly in the films, they could get the same effect with Deadpool giving legitimacy to so many of these other hitmen. Okay. So we're getting closer to when I jumped in, but still, these are all books that I had to go back and get. Issue 8 through 10, Taskmaster and Competence Porn. I love when Taskmaster shows up. Deadpool matches wits and skills with Taskmaster. Kelly leans into slapstick and crafts to show Wade's a really good merc under the shtick. Basically showing that Taskmaster's more of a dickhole than Wade is, that Wade's a better guy in the thing, but also a classic bit of Wade, I'm pretty positive it's in this issue, or one of these issues, in order to defeat Taskmaster, who has photographic reflexes. Anything that he sees, he can replicate. And so generally speaking, anybody that he fights, he gives them a real run for their number because he can fight just like them. And plus, he's also downloaded the fighting skills of, Iron Fist and Captain America and other people like that. So, typically speaking, Taskmaster will F you up. But Wade just starts fighting him so weird and randomly and using his chaos to break down Taskmaster's ability to recognize what he's doing. And he ends up kicking Taskmaster's ass. I love that. Taskmaster's had a decent amount of association with Deadpool over the years. He's always portrayed as, this kind of no-nonsense, dark bad guy next to Wade's nonsensical pseudo-bad guy. Similar to Bullseye, but Bullseye has a really dark sense of humor that Wade likes, and them having their dark sense of humor together is really. I'll get to Bullseye. That's some of my favorite issues of Deadpool. Okay, so issue 11 is a classic one. Joe Kelly goes back, or I'll just read this description and then I'll add to it from here. The Silver Age Spider-Man issue. Deadpool and Blind Al are flung into Amazing Spider-Man number 47. The issue surgically weaves new art and classic panels so Wade acts through a Romita-era Spidey story, one of the run's most famous chapters. It is a very famous chapter. It's actually not my favorite issue, but it is very neat, and I wish I actually had been able to compare it to the original, because I'm sure it's that much better, because Joe is very precise and brilliant writer. It is good. Definitely has some moments. It's a longer issue, it's like a extended issue, and for Spider-Man fans, it's a must. And great at pulling in that comparison between Aunt May and Blind Al. All right, so issues 12 through 16, and I think by the end of this is maybe where I'm getting into reading the book. Blind Al's prison and Wade's line. Kelly darkens the flat. We see just how abusive Wade's roommate captivity of Blind Al really is. Jokes curdle into guilt and shame. Yes, there's a lot of that. Joe goes out of his way to make you feel yucky, to really make you feel stuff about this Al situation. It gives him opportunity to change as a person, to grow. But great stuff. Issue number 17, and this is right when I got in, which is why I was able to get a hold of the Deadpool Death Annual. Number 17 and the Deadpool Death Annual 98 and 18 through 19. A kiss, a curse, a cure. This stuff is awesome. And like I said, the previous issues that we're just doing little breakdowns for, great stuff. Annual 98 kills Wade briefly, reunites him with the cosmic entity Death, then flashes back to the Weapon X Hell. Dr. Killebrew and Francis/Ajax are cemented as Wade's traumas. Wade rejects Death's embrace to finish his revenge, rolling straight into issue 18 through 19, where in modern day he fights Ajax, and there's a great there's a great duel. It's excellent stuff. 20 through 24, trying to be better, and seriously, read all of this. It's excellent. 20 through 24, trying to be better and failing funny. Monty, the precog. Monty is a great character. He has precognition. He steals them from the Luckman and Lake, this LLL, this company that's been talking to him from the very beginning about how he's the Mithras and he's this big deal. And he steals this guy, and he's a great foil to Wade, and he's a foil in the book for a while, and it's quite excellent. Especially because, again, it's one of those things where you feel bad for what Wade's doing. He's taking it too far. When he's with other people and being seen by other people in the Deadpool movies, he's always like digestible. But this is where he's taken past digest to places where he makes people feel icky. You got some more Sirens influence, some messy hero work, end quote, and escalating the T-Ray mind games keep yanking Wade between atonement and absurdity. All right, so then when you get through 25 through 33, and 20 through 24, this is, I think it's really actually 24 through 25, or maybe even up to 26. You get the culmination of the Mithras contract. He gets double crossed. Everything they've been telling him was wrong. He was actually like this fool that they had to bring in, and really the real person who is important is Captain America, and his feelings are hurt, and it's great. It's just well done. You give a shit. There's one other book that I would say rivals how much you care about fucking Wade Wilson, and that's Animal Man. Grant Morrison's Animal Man. The 3 graphic novels of Animal Man are some of the greatest comic books I've ever read, and boy, did you give a shit about Buddy Baker by the end of that thing. And by the end of the Mithras and this stuff, like, boy, do you give a shit about Deadpool, which is why it's so tragic where Joe Kelly brings the character. So issues 25 to 33 is the end of his run. And you've got Mercedes and T-Ray being revealed to be... And I'm pretty sure Mercedes has been brought back to life, and T-Ray has somehow been brought back to life. But T-Ray is Wade Wilson. Wade, whose name we don't know, he came into the cabin of these people. He was lost in the woods or something, and he wanted their life, and he killed them both and took his name and took on this tragic backstory about how he had lost the love of his life, Mercedes. It was really messed up and crazy. And let's see, just right here. T-Ray resurrects Mercedes and claims he is the real Wade Wilson, while our Deadpool was Jack, the merc who killed Mercedes and stole Wade's name. Kelly weaponizes unreliable memories so the truth hurts either way. Wade chooses present redemption over past certainty. Number 33 is the chess game finale between Wade and T-Ray and Kelly's last issue. Yeah, it's excellent. And it's a bummer because everything that was set up there is abandoned with the next issue of the book. And they've never brought it back to that. If I ever got to go back to Deadpool, I'd bring it back. I'd bring it back around. We'll talk about what happened after that in just a second. But a little side one-shot, Baby's first Deadpool book, super fun. Trio of parody shorts, Goofus and Gallant riff, kids book spoofs, etc. Tonally pure Joe Kelly and continuity light. Excellent. I actually gave Baby first Deadpool book to my daughter, Parker. And the team up with Widow Wade is excellent as well. And the dictionary is, it's a dictionary, but it's got some pictures in it, and it's fun. So that's Joe Kelly's run on the book. Deadpool wants to be better. He gets scammed. He gets disappointed. Deadpool finds out he's even worse. Deadpool chooses to do the most heroic thing that he can do because he's broken his brain and he doesn't even know whether or not he's done this terrible thing or not. And the whole T-Ray saga comes to a head.
this, I don't remember exactly what issues it is. Might be issue 28, I'm thinking. Is one of my favorite issues with Bullseye showing up. Like I said, the interactions with other mercenaries is like some of the best stuff in the book. Just giving more world to that whole world of hired assassins. And I mean, because there's so many in Marvel and DC, whatever, there's so many hired assassins. So just having Deadpool in the world acts as this unifying force for that type of character. It's really just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful idea. Okay, so I want to talk about the second best comic book arcs within the thing. It's only about 11 issues, 34 to 45. Yeah, so 11 issues. It is Christopher Priest's run in 1999. Bummer. Well, here I'll say. Let me just go through some of these things, and I'll say, Priest picks up right where Kelly leaves off, and true to form, meta jokes about inheriting troubled books. Then stress tests Wade's identity with sharper satire, bigger guest stars, and Gonzo status quo flips. Christopher Priest's Deadpool run is genuinely funny. There are many laugh out loud moments in the book. It is not as good as Joe Kelly's run, and he throws away all of Joe Kelly's good ideas. Literally, in the first issue of his run, there's a panel where Deadpool is taking garbage out to the curb, and the garbage bag says all of Joe Kelly's great ideas. And you got to commend the boldness of that. And that is funny in and of itself. So, I give him a pass for it, except because this skilled writer, Christopher Priest, did that. He left it really open-ended for other people to come in and do whatever the fuck they wanted to do. And most of the people who came in afterwards were not as skilled. Gail Simone, who is a good writer, her book was just kind of rudderless, and she didn't quite get that humor, even though she does have a good sense of humor. But the humor of that book just didn't quite, it didn't feel the same. It didn't feel like it felt like she was writing her version. A lot of people felt like they were writing their version. Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray did their version of Deadpool, which was like a little bit more serious on some levels. And then the joking was stupider in a lot of ways. Joe Kelly was very smart about the over-the-top way in which he would make jokes. And then later writers came in and tried to be clever. And like the idea with Deadpool was like, he wasn't clever. He was just fucking ridiculous. He was just absurd. Why would you do that now? Why would you say that now? It wasn't that he was so fucking funny. It was just like the timing. His timing was immaculate. And then it became more and more quippy funny, and it became reliant upon the writers themselves to be really good at being quippy funny, or it wouldn't be as good. So Priest kind of fucked everything up. But issue 34 through 36, my favorite of the story arcs probably, Send in the Clowns, Loki's Curse. Wade gets pulled into a scheme where Loki convinces him he's worthy of Mjolnir through illusion, briefly granting Thor-level theatrics. When it collapses, Loki curses Wade, which begets a shock twist about Wade's face at arc's end. Basically, and this is how much I'll reveal, Wade's face is handsome now, and he hates it. And he's trying to undo the handsome face curse that Loki's put on him. And his frustration with the handsome face curse is fucking hysterical. And some of the funniest moments in the book, in this run, happen when he's trying to damage his face. And that's all I'll say to make up for this Loki curse. Issues 37 through 39, you got Pretty Boy fallout from being a pretty boy, and death hangs over it. After the curse, Wade's face shifts from scarred to Tom Cruise handsome, scrambling his self-image while death and past still tug at him. So I guess maybe this is around that time where you're going to get some of those moments. But all of Christopher Priest's run was really enjoyable. He had some moments where he was like roommates with Constrictor and I think Titania. Again, like him being roommates with hired guns and things like that. This stuff really always works great with Deadpool. So the final arc for Priest was 40 through 45. Live by the Sword, era shenanigans. Priest leans into caper energy, space junk, merc crews like Constrictor, Taskmaster popping in and out, pop satire, Wade's stop-start attempts at legitimate heroism, all while prodding the Who is Wade Wilson wound Kelly left simmering. So yeah, so he did kind of like play with the Who is Wade Wilson thing, but it just kind of was like poking at it, like, are we going to do anything with that? And ultimately it gets like dropped at a certain point in time. After this, you get, I don't know if it was Jimmy Palmiotti next, Gail Simone, a number of writers who really don't do the character justice, unfortunately, and really try to like do their own thing with it instead of trying to build on the structure that Joe Kelly had created and was laid out in the Deadpool movies. That was a big mistake. Christopher Priest going too far away for that, and then editorial not telling these other writers to go back to it. But there was this really fucked up moment where they tried to stop paying Rob Liefeld for the designs of Cable and Deadpool by redesigning them and renaming them Soldier X and Agent X. Agent X was written by Gail Simone. It was lame. It was really lame. It was like a kind of a team book, and it was really lame that Marvel did that in the first place to try to not pay one of their creators, change some character as to be unrecognizable, and give it some lame design. It's really a despicable moment in Marvel history that was attempted in the first place. I think it lasted like 13 issues, and I think when they brought the characters back, they brought them back together in Cable and Deadpool, written by Fabian Naiches, for 50 issues. I read those 50 issues. They're okay. It's not bad. The characters interact well together. Deadpool, when he's got the right type of foil, can be good, and they're largely good. Going off of some of the positive things that had been added to Deadpool and the place that Deadpool had been taken to, Fabian did something similarly fun. And I like that. A little bit better than that, I liked Daniel Way's run on the book, which was like 67 issues with specials and stuff. It wasn't the greatest, but it was solid. And I did like it. It felt like Deadpool close enough and everything. Around this time, there's a Deadpool team-up book that was also really fun just to see him team up with all these different people. There was a couple Jason Pearson miniseries during that time that were really good if you like Jason Pearson's art like I do. Deadpool has really broken out, and I mean, there's been a lot of runs since. I kind of just had it up to there with inconsistency in terms of the writing. There was a long time where I would read anything that had Deadpool in it. I remember there was a miniseries called Identity Disc with Vulture and Juggernaut. Juggernaut being in it would be a good indicator that I might read it too. There were some really great things. For a while, he was used sparingly by people who really liked the character, and then it really got out of hand, and a lot of his mainstream book lost a lot of the greatness for me. So I've been relatively inconsistent since then. I haven't had a lot of stories that I loved and fell in love with, anything close to these originals, but I recommend these originals wholeheartedly, and I recommend anybody that has been reading more recent Deadpool stuff and maybe has a more wealth of information of some of the most recent stuff, because like I said, I do occasionally read things, but I've been like unlucky, and most of the stuff that I've like picked up I've been a bit bummed out about. So those are the main things that I'll recommend. Really Joe Kelly's run, Christopher Priest's run, secondarily, the Cable and Deadpool and the Daniel Way run, and Deadpool team up. I do enjoy, and those Jason Pearson ones are groovy too. But there are a lot. There are a lot of options out there, and they're not all great. There's plenty of them that aren't so great. And over the years now, Deadpool has been added to the ranks of the Avengers, the X-Men, the Thunderbolts, the version of the team that's like all red and black, the Uncanny X-Force, where he's in that black suit, that gray black suit. There's a lot of fun, kind of variants of Deadpool that have come out over the years, like Headpool, who ended up getting introduced in the Marvel Zombies books. Lady Deadpool's really not a lot of fun, but Dogpool is usually fun. Kitty Pool is pretty fun. Well, I like to call him Kitty Pool, Kid Pool, whatever they like to call him. Venom Pool is one of the coolest designs in comics. The fucking Venom symbiote over the Deadpool costume with a mouth. Love that one. We talked about Weasel. We talked about Blind Owl. We talked about Hell House. We talked about Fenway. We talked about T-Ray. We talked about Bullseye. Hit Monkey is a favorite bit from the Daniel Way run. Hit Monkey's probably my favorite bit of the Daniel Way run, and it's not that great, but it is good. It's solid. Daniel Way's stuff I always enjoy, but like doesn't necessarily like blow my mind. Deadpool for a long time during the Joe Kelly stuff, he used to be able to teleport. Eventually, later writers took that power away, which I hated when they took that power away because it was so fun and it was such a part of his character. He would just show up places. I had a great bit with Santa Claus coming to kill him, and he kept having to teleport away and disappear because he'd been naughty for 25 years, and 25 years of consecutive naughtiness equals death. So let's see. Other great Joe Kelly works with Deadpool beyond the 1997 run. Amazing Spider-Man 611 in 209. You got Spidey versus Deadpool. It's a gag fest. It's by Kelly and Eric Canetti. It's a modern echo of Kelly's Deadpool tone. That was during the Brand New Day era, I think it was, when there was 3 issues a month for Spider-Man. Joe Kelly was one of the writers. That was a great issue. And that run of Spider-Man I really enjoy, with a lot of great writers working on that. Then you got Spider-Man and Deadpool number 1 through 5 and number 8. It's Kelly and Ed McGuinness back. Ed McGuinness, there's a lot of great artists who worked on Joe Kelly's run. I should give credit where credit's due. Ed McGuinness, Pete Wood, Scott McDaniel. Not Scott McDaniel. No, he's a different... Walter McDaniel. Walter McDaniel? Maybe. Something. McDaniel. There's a lot of great artists who worked on Deadpool during Joe Kelly's time. And Ed McGuinness and him coming back for this Spider-Man Deadpool. I did read these. They were great. Highly recommend it. Isn't it bromantic, the arc? It's awesome. And it was a long-running buddy book. There was more Deadpool's Spidey after this, but this was his. Joe Kelly, was revisiting redemption versus bad influence through the Spider-Man Wade frenemies lens. Collecting. And there's a Kelly omnibus that you can get that has all of his Wade material, ongoing annuals, Baby's First Deadpool, Amazing Spider-Man with Deadpool, etc. All that stuff is in one place. So I would highly recommend you get that, even though the omnibuses are annoying because they fucking, you got to sit and read them all. But if you get it digitally, that's a good place to go. All right. So, we're going to talk real quick, and these, are more well-known, so we're not going to talk about them super long, but we're going to talk about the films and animation and some the extra stuff to, close out this stuff. But really the thing that I think most people haven't been able to give you are the comics, and man, they're really great. And they're maybe a little overwritten now by today's modern writing comic book standards, but they're still awesome. They still hold up. The foundational ideas within them are excellent. Kudos to you, Joe Kelly. It's a privilege that I know Joe and I'm friendly with him. But I'm not worthy. I'm scum. I suck. So we've got 4, or I guess you could say 5 total Deadpool movies. Deadpool 2016, the origin of Wade, Ajax, Vanessa, fourth wall R-rated template that recentered the character in pop culture. This movie would not have been made if Chris Lord and Ryan Reynolds or whoever hadn't leaked the test footage that they shot for this thing. Famously, when the test footage hit the internet and people saw it, they went, holy shit, this is Deadpool. You must bring this to life. And Fox was basically forced to do so, which led to Deadpool 2016 and then Deadpool 2 in 2018. X-Force Farce plus Heart, Russell, Fire Fist, Cable and Domino, Fridging Subverted by After Credits, and Bigger But Still Antarctic. I love Deadpool, the first one. I remember when I had written my comic book for Marvel Comics at the time. I love both these movies. I mean, there's things that I love about Deadpool even more, things that I might have liked to see or whatever else. But ultimately, Ryan Reynolds really does embody the character pretty hardcore. References had been made to him being Ryan Reynolds-esque early on. When people who liked Deadpool saw Van Wilder, we all thought, it's fucking Deadpool. It's really true. And the follow-up, which actually I like even better, to Deadpool 2 in 2018, Once Upon a Deadpool, the PG-13 recut of DP2 with new Fred Savage Princess Bride style formatting bits. Oh my God. Love that. Love that they did that. Hate that we can't get a hold of it now. It's like, it doesn't seem to be available anywhere if you go look for it. And then most recently, Deadpool and Wolverine 2024, Wade meets and maims with variants across reality, the time variance authority shenanigans, mega cameo playground, and sincere Logan Wade bromance core, which has always been a staple in the comics, always a solid thing when Wolverine and Deadpool would meet up. There's a great issue of Deadpool by Joe Kelly where Wolverine and Deadpool fight. And it's in relation somehow to Dr. Bong, who's a character from Howard the Duck, who's like acting as a therapist for him, telling him that he needs to like work through his problems. And he's working through his problems by fighting Wolverine and having Wolverine impale him. It's quite funny. And there's been plenty of great Wolverine Deadpool bits over the years. So 5, the earlier version, the shit version of Deadpool, X-Men Origins Wolverine in 2009, the other Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, first Wade, then the sword arm, sewn mouth weapon, whatever the fuck version it was, that fans unilaterally rejected. Am I using that word right? Unilaterally rejected. And later movies, we would roast this and fuck that movie. Don't watch Wolverine Origins. It's terrible. Some of the other great things that I wanted to mention, Hulk Versus. There's this animated movie called Hulk Versus. It's written by Craig Kyle, and the Hulk versus Thor one is written by Craig Kyle and another guy, Mark something maybe, that sometimes works with Craig Kyle. Both of them are excellent. But the Hulk versus Wolverine one in particular is really awesome, especially because of the killer depiction of Deadpool. The Weapon X short, it's kind of a short, I guess it's like 45 minutes, pits Hulk and Logan against the team, including Deadpool, voiced by Nolan North. And this is like the fan favorite best animated Deadpool. Also, Ultimate Spider-Man 2013, Season 2, Ultimate Deadpool, reality TV, Pain Factor, Flavor of Wade, again, voiced by Nolan North. That's super fun. Some other exciting things. There was a Deadpool video game in 2013. I don't know if you can still get your hands on it, but it was fun. It wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but it was fun. Jimmy Palmiotti and maybe Frank Thierry, or one or two of them, worked on that thing, and it definitely has some Deadpool flavor. It's definitely some fun. And also Nolan North, once again, doing the voice. And, Deadpool showed up in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, where he is a fun character to fucking play. I talked about the leaked test footage in 2014, sorry. So my contribution to the Deadpool lore is a story called Fun with Ninjas that's in Marvel Comics Presents number 10 in 2008. It's a tight punchline Wade short, where basically he's about to murder somebody and his cell phone goes off and wakes up the guy he's about to kill. And he has to fight all these ninja bodyguards, and then in the end he kills the guy, and then Weasel tells him that if you bring the guy in alive, they'll quadruple your money. And he turns to the lady and he says, well, it's the guy's like, he was sleeping with this lady. He turns to the lady and he says, do you got any duct tape? It's going to tape the head on. And I had a follow-up the bit that I wanted to write so bad of him doing the dead parrot sketch, trying to deliver the duct tape on head to the people. Kelly Omnibus Trade. The Joe Kelly Omnibus Trade has -1, 0, 1 through 33, both annuals, Baby's First Deadpool, Amazing Spider-Man 47, and 611. And placement of the two annuals, you would probably go like -1 to 0 to 1 through 7, DDDP, Daredevil DP, to 8 through 17, Deadpool Death 98, and then 18 through 19. Then the Deadpool 11 Silver Age stunt explainer, and splice it into Amazing Spider-Man number 47 so you can read that and get the reference. Then Deadpool Death. No. Then we're good. Okay. And then the last thing I was going to do, if we want to do it, how long am I going? I'm 54. I'm not at an hour yet. I was just going to open up my my documents here and see pitches that I had done for Deadpool, because I know I have some in here. I know I have some things that might be kind of fun to share. So let's see. Marvel, and we got Blade, we got Ghost Rider, we got Punisher, we got Deadpool Treehouse, Little Deadpool pitch, Deadpool team up. Let me see. So let's see. Deadpool's Treehouse. What if every hero and villain in the Marvel Universe were only kids? Who does little Spider-Man call when he has super wedgies that he can't quite pick thanks to all the super buddies at school? Oh, yeah, so I was trying to do this with my buddies Art and Franco, who were doing Tiny Titans over at DC. I think it was similar, different pitch was Little Deadpool, Kid Problem Solver. What would it be like if all the day-to-day happenings of the Marvel Universe took place in an elementary school? So I had a couple different versions of this pitch. Then I did a bunch of pitches for Marvel Team Up, the Deadpool Team Up before it got taken away. Deadpool and Blade in Super Blood. Let's see, one of these should I read? Deadpool and Beta Ray Bill in Don't Call Me Horse Thor. Oh, that was my favorite one I can remember. Deadpool and the Rawhide Kid in The Good, the Bad, and the Deadpool. Deadpool and the Sentry in You Had to Be There. Deadpool babysits Power Pack in Kiddie Pool. Deadpool, a hot Asian chick, the 49ers, and Rakim in Axel's Wet Dream. I wrote that one because I wanted Axel Alonso to notice my pitch. And there's a shitload more here. My Christmas specials are in here. I did a lot of holiday specials because I thought that was really funny. I had Deadpool being hired to kill the Easter Bunny, but it's the kangaroo, the Spider-Man villain. Here, I'll read the Horse Thor one. Deadpool gets hired to retrieve plans for some sort of doomsday device on an AIM satellite orbiting in space. Problem is, he has no way of getting to it. He can get off of it with his handy dandy teleportation device, but since he's never been to that station before, he can't teleport there. What he needs is someone who he can trick into taking him to the satellite, preferably someone who has never met Deadpool before. A foreigner with no concept of what Deadpool is all about. Someone like Beta Ray Bill. Long story short, Deadpool tricks Bill into helping him, and when they arrive on the satellite, Bill is attacked by AIM's doomsday weapon, which has killed everyone else on the station. Deadpool allows Bill to handle the monster while he searches for the plans that he has been hired to retrieve. Deadpool finds them and is about to teleport away when Bill's hammer gets knocked out of his hand and comes flying through the wall. I always wanted one of those, Deadpool says, as he tries to pick it up off the ground, but he is very unworthy. Finally, he comes to a realization. It must be stuck to the floor. Deadpool pulls out his gun and shoots the floor out from under the hammer, sending the hammer plunging down to the next floor, through that floor, into space, and plummeting to Earth from orbit. Of course, it's dragging Deadpool along with it, and his teleportation device got ripped off or damaged on his trip through the floor. Deadpool and the plans he was hired to retrieve burn up in the atmosphere, and Deadpool almost goes splat on the ground, but at the last minute, Bill shows up with the defeated monster over his shoulder. As he saves Deadpool's worthless, charred life, he learns a valuable lesson. Never trust Deadpool. I like that one. The Deadpool Sentry one was really cool because it makes Deadpool guilty of having driven Sentry towards the Void by playing on the Sentry's dark sense of humor, and the Void hires Deadpool to kill him. So he becomes like a Kato to the Clouseau to Sentry. He's constantly showing up to kill him. This one was funny too. Deadpool babysits Power Pack in kiddie pool. DP is hired by the Snarks to steal the plans for Professor James's Powers antimatter generator from the lab in his house. So Deadpool disguises himself as a babysitter and attempts to retrieve them, not knowing that he is babysitting the Power Pack. Deadpool is not willing to go as far as killing children, so he fights the Power Pack with his hands tied and gets his ass handed to him. In the end, Deadpool calls a truce, and they watch some cartoons instead. Professor Power pays Deadpool $20 for his efforts and asks if he'd like to babysit them again. Deadpool offers to babysit Julie in like 5 years. The end. And I mean, there was just a ton here that I had. I told you, Deadpool and Fenway and Foul Balls, Deadpool and Captain Universe, Deadpool and Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, Deadpool and The Shroud, Deadpool and Penn and Speedball, Deadpool and Star Fox. I love Deadpool. And I had just so many things that I wanted to do. And I'm not going to sit here and necessarily bore you with a whole bunch of like behind the scenes, like scripts of like all these things. But oh boy, did I have a shitload of things that I wanted to do with that character who was a favorite of mine. Thank you to Joe Kelly. So thank you, Joe Kelly, for the thing. Thank you, Rob Liefeld, for the initial design. Thank you to fans like me who kept Deadpool's sales alive and kept telling people about the book and telling people about the character. Thank you to Ryan Reynolds and Tim Cook, is it? And the people who brought him to life on the big screen, and Craig Kyle, who brought him to life so great in animation. There's so many wonderful people who have loved this character the way I have, and we have gotten some wonderful Deadpool entertainment over the past fucking 20... Wait, what was I, like 15 when I was starting reading Deadpool? So, fuck. That's crazy. Like almost 30 years of Deadpool, man. I guess it is like 30 years. Anyway, I love you. This has been my fucking celebration of all things Wade Wilson. My coolest pick for this Saturday. The news has been a little slow, so I've been just celebrating some shit, and I actually like doing that a lot more. Lots of celebrating. Anyway, join us Monday for music, Tuesday for animation, Wednesday for comics, Thursdays for live action, Fridays for all sorts of stuff, and Saturdays today for our hour-long Mother Show. Hit me up at jbs@blacklightdistrict.studio with recommendations and to let me know if I've been doing a good job, if you got some new favorite movies, some new favorite comics. I hope you do. Don't sleep on my show, Everything They Don't Want You to Know. It's my esoteric wisdom show. It's now on Sundays, and that's where the real map of this universe unfolds. This week, I did a really great episode about how I changed, and I've changed significantly over the years. I feel like it's a time that we all need to change, and I thought maybe sharing the story of all the ways in which I changed and how that happened would be helpful to people. So check that out, Everything They Don't Want You to Know, How I Changed. And again, Blacklight District Studio, music, comics, merch, always evolving. Back us on Kickstarter now, easier by going to blacklightdistrict.studio. This is Jesse Blaze Snyder signing off from the Blacklight District saying, stay cool and stay alive, motherfuckers. I love you with all my heart. Care Bear Stare. Peace out. You've been listening to Coolest Geek Alive with me, your host, Jesse Blaze Snyder. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more excellent geek culture content. Thanks for listening.
It's my favorite part. Isn't that heavy? I'll play that. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Coolest alive. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Stay with your tribe. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Revenge of the Geeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Week after weeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Laughing with you. It's gonna be fucking awesome. And crying sometimes too. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Spelling it out. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Making you shout. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Talking some shit. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Living your shit. My voice is fucking awesome. Foot in be fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Just wait. You'll see. You'll all see.
The podcast playground. Hooray!